What if there was no water? No lakes, rivers, or oceans. No waterfalls or rain. No way to quench your thirst or bathe. It may be hard to imagine, but without water, we wouldn't be able to survive. Water is one of the most important elements on Earth. It's essential for life, and it's also essential for many aspects of our daily lives. We use water to cook, clean, and drink. We use it to flush our toilets and water our plants. It's even used in manufacturing and power generation. In this video we'll explore the many ways water is used in our everyday lives, and we'll discuss what would happen if there was no more water. What is water? You might not think about it often, but water is actually a pretty big deal. It's essential for life as we know it, and without it, things would be pretty different. Let's take a look at what water is and why it's so important. Water is a molecule made up of 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom. It's a substance that's essential for all known forms of life, and it makes up around 60% of the human body. Not only is it essential for us, but it's also essential for the planet. Water helps to regulate the Earth's temperature, transports nutrients and minerals, and provides a habitat for many plants and animals. In other words, water is pretty important stuff. So what would happen if there was no water? The different types of water. You might be thinking, there's only one type of water, H2O. But actually, there are 3 different types of water. The first type is surface water, which is the water that you see in lakes, rivers, and streams. This type of water is important for irrigation, drinking, and recreation. The second type is groundwater, which is the water that's found underground in aquifers. This type of water is important for drinking and irrigation. And finally, the third type of water is atmospheric water, which is the water that's in the air as humidity or precipitation. This type of water is important for transportation and for plants. The water cycle. Think about the water cycle for a second. Where does water come from? It evaporates from the oceans, condenses into clouds, and then falls back down to the earth as rain or snow. Now imagine what would happen if there was no water to evaporate in the first place. There would be no clouds, and therefore no rain or snow. And without the water cycle, there would be no life on Earth as we know it. So next time you take a sip of water, think about how lucky you are to have access to this vital resource. And make sure to do your part in conserving it. How much water does the average person use? In the US, the average person uses around 80 to 100 gallons of water per day. Just imagine for a second what your day would be like if you didn't have access to that much water. For one, you wouldn't be able to take a shower or a bath. You also wouldn't be able to flush the toilet, brush your teeth, or wash your hands. And forget about doing laundry or dishes. But it's not just about the water you use at home. Think about all the water that goes into the food you eat. Everything from the water used to grow crops to the water used to process them uses huge amounts of water. In fact, it takes about 2,400 gallons of water to produce 1 pound of beef. So, if you ate just 1 burger a week, that would be the equivalent of showering for 6 months. How long can a person live without water? In short, not very long. The average person can only survive without water for 3 to 5 days. And if the conditions are extreme, like if you're in a hot desert, that number goes down to just 2 or 3 days. But it's important to remember that everyone is different, and there are a lot of factors that can affect how long you can last without water. For example, your age, weight, and fitness level all play a role. And of course, if you're already dehydrated when you start going without water, that's going to make things a lot worse. So if you're in a situation where you might not have access to water, it's important to stay hydrated as much as possible beforehand. What would happen if there was no water? Can you imagine a world without water? I can't. And I don't think I ever want to find out. Water is essential for life. Not just human life, but all life. We need water to drink, of course, but we also need it to grow food, to generate energy, to make products, and to keep our planet healthy. Without water, we would die. It's that simple. And not just us humans, all forms of life would perish without water. The earth would become a barren wasteland, a desert full of dust and bones. So let's not take water for granted. Let's cherish it and protect it, because without it, we have nothing. Conclusion. What would the world be like without water? It's hard to imagine, but it's important to think about what we would do without this vital resource. We need to be careful with our water usage and make sure we're doing everything we can to conserve this precious resource.